See everybody trickling in. Got about 2 minutes. Can you all hear me? Okay. Try and make sure.
Hey, all.
Hey, Carol. Hey, Carol.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. I'll start right on the dot there. All right, I will go ahead and kick things off. It is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to join our first ever inaugural monthly continuous learning call. And so I'm here with JC and Samantha Lee. I'm Josh Zimmerman, the Learning and Development Partner here at GitLab. I'm joined with a number of folks from our enablement community as well. And we thought it would be a great idea to put together a monthly sort of regular call to highlight all of the learning and development and enablement initiatives taking place at GitLab. This is really an opportunity to reinforce our culture of learning here at GitLab. And this is an opportunity for you as a GitLab community to ask any questions related to professional development, growing your career. What are we doing to upskill team members, customers, and partners in the broader community? So if you hadn't had a chance, click on the slide deck, review it, and take a look at the slides, ask any questions that you may have related to the content, and we are here to answer those. So I don't see any questions yet. I'm assuming we're all looking through the slides, so.
Thanks for kicking this off to all of you in L&D. And yeah, just curious as to if you could maybe talk us through how L&D collaborates with Sales Enablement and other groups to give an overview of how connected it is. Yeah,
no, great question, Carol. So if you think of, there's an organizational chart in there in the slide deck, and really like L&D, JC, myself, and Samantha work kind of more on the people side of the house. And David and Christina Yoshida are focused more on field enablement and professional services, enabling our customers and partners and sellers to be able to sell and to fulfill the needs of that community. So we work with them to provide sort of organization-wide learning initiatives that will be applicable to their audiences that they're serving. I know with David, we're collaborating pretty heavily with him on developing an effective communication course, as well as rolling out the manager training to the sales audience as well. David, anything to add there?
Yeah, monthly syncs and actually more frequent informal communications just to look at aligning our efforts. Another key element of collaboration is with our new learning experience platform. So there's some information in the deck there. So that's a cross-functional team effort, with lots of folks at GitLab helping to, how can we implement, how we will implement a learning experience platform that complements our handbook first approach to learning and development.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks for the question.
And Tim, I see you have a question as well.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Tim.
How are you today, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Slide number 7, the take time to learn, which I love. I applaud. I think it's awesome. It's a little bit like my own personal initiative to take time to read books for fun and other. It looks like it's hinging a little bit on Focus Friday, and I don't want to speak for the entire sales org. I'm not equipped, but I will tell you that at least at a sort of an Enterprise West team that I get a chance to work with and support, I've sort of seen that I thought Focus Fridays were pushed through the end of the summer as a bit of a pilot under the CRO organization. And I'm wondering if you know differently, if we've actually kept those or if that's more of a corporate initiative now. But I can say, I will confess that my Fridays are no longer terribly focused. Wanted to get some feedback or thoughts from you.
Sure. Yeah. So, Carol, feel free to add on this on the corporate level, but I think we're going to continue that initiative organization-wide.
Yes. We did decide, and I'm just wondering what communication we did on it now, that we will go through the end of the year. So thanks, Tim, for bringing that up. And I'm just going to quickly check it here.
Was there an end of summer pilot, or was that?
You're right. There was.
Okay.
We said we were going to do it during the summer and then sync back as to how thanks, David, how it went, and then it was decided that we would go through the end of the year from memory. David, you have you've put in a link. Is that what it's to?
Yes, let me share screen. That's right. So I included a link. I'll put that in the agenda doc as well. But yeah, Tim said the update was extending it through, as Carolyn mentioned, through the end of this calendar year for Focus Fridays. So not just summer.
Yeah, in the Take Time Out to Learn campaign, it's really, it's really a proactive approach to just blocking time on your calendar to build new skills. I think at GitLab, we get so busy with our day-to-day roles that sometimes we forget that, hey, maybe we need to take a course or learn a new skill to develop ourselves professionally. So.
Love it. Thanks for the help.
Cool. Thanks, Tim.
I love the deck. It looks great. I'm all about aesthetics and how it's put together. So JC and Josh, great putting that together. Quick question for you both, one of you or whomever wants to answer. Having had participated in the managers pilot, just curious, I know that there's another session coming up in January. Are you going to at some point open that up to be company-wide, or will you continue to do just sessions?
Yeah, so I think love to open it up company-wide. I know there's some specific audiences that are requesting for the manager training specifically. I know finance and sales, want an iteration of it. But I think, opening it up organization-wide, if you're interested in taking part in the January 2nd iteration, feel free to, I think there's an issue in the deck you can click on and sign up. This was the first time we've ever done any formalized, manager enablement training at GitLab, and we're iterating on the current program, but I think there's a lot you could learn, during the session as well. So
it was great. I did. I thought it was very well put together as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Candace. I see a question in there with no name on it regarding cloud environments.
Yeah, that was, sorry about the noise. That's Brooklyn for you. Just wondering if, so there's some GitLabbers that have significant experience with different technologies. Like I see Darwin here, and I've been on calls with Darwin, and he's awesome when it comes to a certain technology. So I was wondering if there's like a formal way to transfer that knowledge or share that knowledge across other roles or other GitLabbers. Is there a platform where this could happen?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so we're implementing a learning experience platform over the next couple of months here at GitLab. And that's really going to be an opportunity for all team members to be able to develop self-service learning content that is handbook first. So one of our roles within the corporate L&D space is to enable, all team members to develop courses that are applicable for the broader community. So if there's, around this topic specifically, if you want to partner with us to develop a course, develop a handbook page that we can get out to the broader community and feature on the LXP as well as in the handbook, we can work with you to do that. I think, as we shift to this, learning culture here at GitLab, we really want to enable everybody to contribute to learning, not just for us internally, but also externally as well. So I think there's an L&D request template in there. We can link it for you.
Yeah, and I'll just also add, Alejandro, the is more informal, but the attempt or the intention of the customer success, the CS skills exchange, is some of that, right? Sharing expertise and best practices of the community in customer success. Surely an opportunity to formalize that a bit more. So I'll take that as an action item to follow up with Chris Reynolds on our team to look at what else we might have or what's on the horizon that aligns with what you're suggesting there.
Thank you. I appreciate it, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks for all the questions. These are awesome. Darwin, you got the next one there.
I just wanted to note, I did my own highly technical courses for about, for quite a while as a solo entrepreneur. And then I've been involved in Pluralsight's editorial process. And there's things that in the area of e-learning that so far a lot of our materials do not comply with, that are really about engagement, and they're hyper obsessive about drop-off statistics in e-learning content. So I'm just wondering if we're going to put together like editorial guidelines for content creators, especially if it's like reusable in a portal or usable by customers. I think it might be really important, especially if we don't have the capacity there to have drop-off stats. I guess that's the question. Does edX have drop-off statistic tracking? So you know when people don't stay engaged for a whole course or even a whole video?
Yeah, I believe so. I think there are those reporting drop-off statistics on the back end management of EdCast. And I think too, just with rolling out an organizational wide learning platform, we need to make sure that all courses, all content have a similar look and feel for team members, customers, partners, just the broader community. I think that's a big.
Yeah, this isn't branding, it's actually engagement. Yeah. So it was hard, even as an experienced instructor, going through their editorial education and onboarding, and then having the third-party critiquing of your content. It was challenging. So I think it's important to target more than anything audience engagement, because TLDR happens with video as well, right? So it doesn't magically overcome TLDR because it's video. Too long did not read for anyone who's not familiar with the acronym.
Do you have a link or anything, any background in terms of that editorial?
I can give you the highest level overview in like one sentence. Progressive disclosure is what differentiates mobile apps from those old nasty desktop apps where there's 5,000 choices on one screen, and training needs to have progressive disclosure. So in technical training, we frequently have very complicated diagrams that must actually be viewed as a complete thing at the end in order for you to get it, but it should not be thrown on the screen that way. This is like the #1 principle. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, but taking the time to animate it so that you unpack the story, retain control of the narrative, will both increase attention, engagement, and long-term understanding as well. So we can't get away from complex visuals in technical training, but we can progressively reveal them when we deliver. And that was the big thing at Pluralsight too, is if you didn't have movement on the screen every 30 seconds, approximately, then you were going to be asked to redo the content.
Yeah.
And no heads, moving heads are necessary in videos, and it's actually kind of distracting. It doesn't substitute for proper progressiveness of the content. But yes, I can definitely be a resource. I don't want to take too much more time in the meeting, but I can definitely be a resource in helping with the both the neurological aspects of training formulation and how to keep an audience engaged when you're not in a live context, for sure.
Yeah, no, that would be great. I think I put a link in the chat as well, just on our, this is kind of spearheaded by David Summers' organization, but a handbook first approach to interactive content. And that's really up-leveling, our are ways of how we engage the community with our learning content to make it more interactive, because standalone text, handbook, reading the handbook, sometimes that's not how everybody learns, right? So making things a little bit more engaging for everybody.
Yeah, the only qualifier I'd add is that an average content creator who knows how to use slide software can animate it and get to that level quite easily. As soon as you get into interactivity authoring, now you need someone a lot more skills to get there and to know how to pedagogically formulate it correctly. But just getting it so you say, hey, you got this great big diagram, all we need you to do is to unpack it visually as well as audibly. That I can put together an enablement session on how to quickly animate, a big visual. But interactivity is great as well when people need it, but that's the authoring level where you kind of go, I don't know, off a cliff as far as the authoring skills required to do that from our greater community of, say, technical enablers, people who like to do this kind of thing.
Is it, what is it called, Darwin? Is it what did you say? Progressive what?
So it's called progressive disclosure. It's hard to find. If you Google cognitive load and training or anything, I was just yesterday trying to piece this together because of something else that hit my radar. But basically, progressive disclosure. You have to go through the reasoning that in technology we can't avoid complex visuals. As soon as you put up a complex visual, everybody's cognitive load pegs, they stop listening to you because you can't avoid trying to make sense of what's in front of you. So all the presenter has to do is take control of the narrative by only putting on the screen what they want to talk about and building out that final visual. And so cognitive load's another concept you can Google to find out more about this. And then I found a really good article that talked about different kinds of illustrations and how they have promising and non-promising e-learning potential.
No, that's really helpful. I think I'd love to set up a time with you just to learn more of your background and kind of how we can fuse that into the broader learning content here at GitLab.
Yeah, and a lot of the positive feedback I've gotten is not because of the greatness of what I'm saying. It's just that one aspect. It's kind of like if you're in photography, you get great lenses and people start complimenting your photography and you're like, well, it's the lens.
Awesome. Thanks, Darwin.
Yeah, really good input. And Darwin, if there's, to help it make it tangible, if there's a specific example that comes to mind is like, hey, if you just did a few of these things differently, totally open to suggestions, and I absolutely agree that there's opportunity to make things more consumable and easier to digest.
Yeah, and I would just suggest like Pluralsight's editorial gate is hardcore. It doesn't need to be that hardcore, but I'd say that stuff that goes into this new learning system should not be like unfiltered. I make something and I upload it. If you want it to stand out and be distinguished. The other thing too is that learning cycle in the current PowerPoint doesn't acknowledge the fact that when content is e-learning, people can come back and do phase 1, 2, and then go straight to 6 again and again because you've got it online. It's one of the powers of video training over classroom training is you can just go watch just a bit and then go straight to practice long after you take a course, right? So if you construct it correctly, it'll be very highly usable that way. So the first thing I'd say is start talking about a gate, an editorial gating system to getting content into this new system. And it doesn't have to be arduous or horrible, but not just anybody uploads anything, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. Monica, do you want to ask the next one there?
Yeah, thank you. So I was just looking through the deck. Slide 8 is really interesting on like the GitLab learner experience and that like 70-20-10 breakdown. So I was just curious if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that and like kind of in a put it to practice way of like how would you, in an ideal way, how should GitLab team members really embrace that ratio in their day-to-day work?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. So the intention of this slide is to show that just because you're not in a formal learning event, like a training or like a virtual class or taking like an e-learning, doesn't mean you're not learning something. And I think at GitLab, because we have this culture of continuous learning, we're learning all the time. We wanted to show like a breakdown of the majority of the things that you're going to learn are going to happen, on the job, working with others, your day-to-day role. And I think getting out of the mindset that, hey, learning has to happen in a classroom or taking a self-service course, that's not when learning occurs all the time. So learning happens every day, every hour, especially at GitLab, just because we move so fast. And I think when you implement it into your day-to-day role, when you're thinking about upskilling your skills, being able to say, oh, you know what, I took part in an AMA to learn something new, just taking a tally of all of those events that you've been a part of throughout your time here.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome, Lorna, next question there.
Thank you, Josh. And thank you both for doing this. I just love that the focus on learning is amped up since you joined the team, and just kind of piggybacking on what David Summers and team has already implemented. So my question is a follow-up to Monica's question about learning styles. I love slide 8. It's great, love to see that. But I'm wondering, are we going to flesh this out further in terms of looking into cultural learning styles, learning by gender, anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the cultural aspect as well as like generational as well.
Yes.
I think I'm a millennial. I might learn differently than somebody who's maybe been in the workforce much longer. I think applying those different threads to our learning content, majority of the way we learn things at GitLab is very like text-based, right? It's in the handbook. The handbook is the primary method, but not everybody learns new skills that way. So I think we should take a lens of cultural and different learning styles, generational, and apply that to new learning content at GitLab. So
Right,
I think that would be the next iteration there.
Okay, I was going to say timeline-wise, but of
Yeah.
course, next iteration. Okay, great to hear. Thanks, Josh.
And I think we're already kind of doing that a little bit just through like some introductions of new animation videos, micro learning, bringing in the LXP, which will allow team members to access learning on their own time. So I think we're starting to do that a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Lorna. I know we got 4 minutes left. I want to keep everybody on time there. So Darwin, I see you got another question there.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Just I find that sales meetings are not marketing. We tend to use marketing materials, which are for the slides that we use in sales meetings, but I really feel they're learning engagements because we have a small group wanting to learn more, peel back the covers. And especially you can't in a demo easily show the overarching processes of all the pieces you're demoing. So I use small slides, or not that, slides that are animated to unpack these processes. And it seems to really help a lot versus using some of the more static marketing materials. So I just wanted to say that I think this effort could also extend to there to imply or to assert, if it's found to be true, assert that those situations should have a learning materials focus and engagement like a video, as opposed to the kind of stuff that we put on the marketing site, which does not necessarily have to have the same level of interactivity or engagement management, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I would love to see too any examples that you may have in terms of those sort of bite-sized slide content just to deliver information in a new and engaging way. So I think that's a great call out. Awesome. Any more questions there? We got 3 minutes left. All right. Well, if you have any if there's anything you want to talk about, and maybe in the next L&D continuous learning call, feel free to reach out to us. We can add it to the agenda, and be a sponsor of learning at GitLab. If you want to learn more, join the Learning and Development channel and contribute. So really appreciate you all joining us this morning.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Josh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.